Constructivist theory is a type of educational philosophy which believes that knowledge is constructed from within rather than imposed from the outside. It's believed that physical environment and social context are critical in the building of this knowledge. I look at it as providing a socially rich experience that allows learner to creatively assemble knowledge as it best relates to his or her belief system. Where traditional classrooms often focus on direct instruction and the use of basic skills to provide correct answers to specific questions, the constructivist classroom tends to focus on large concepts and have a more hands-on and interactive approach. So, traditional approach may tend to look at specific concepts in isolation, where the constructive approach prefers to connect learning across subject areas through a common central theme.
Thematic planning is one way you can begin to apply the constructivist approach to your classroom. This can be a useful strategy because it can create connections across different concepts and subject areas. One of the many benefits includes the impact on long-term memory. Research shows that knowledge representation in long-term memory depends on frequency and contiguity. The more often that a fact, event, or idea is encountered, the stronger is its representation in memory. Sometimes in middle school or high school settings it can be tricky to coordinate all subjects around a central theme, but any opportunity to create contiguity can be very helpful. An example that I've come up with is as a social studies teacher, I would coordinate with my student's language arts teacher so that we can both use the same reading strategy, such as soapstone. In social studies, this can be especially useful when reading primary source documents. Since we know that social context is a critical part of constructivist theory, cooperative learning is another way to put this theory into practice. So just put them into groups and you're good to go, right? Wrong. Keep in mind that if not done properly, cooperative groups can have a negative impact on learning. Remember that with cooperative learning, the central goal is to help students develop the ability to work collaboratively with others. Principles to use for successful cooperative learning. 1. Assign groups deliberately to maximize achievement. 2. Structure assignments so that it will require the participation of each member for success, but also ensure success is achievable with reasonable effort. 3. Make sure that each member of the group is accountable. Peer tutoring is another great way to apply constructivist theory in our classroom. Peer tutoring is a great alternative to traditional instruction which embodies constructivist principles. It allows each student to be active in the learning process. It includes the ever-important social component, and it adds diversity to class structures. To get the most out of this strategy, provide direct instruction on how peer tutoring will work in your classroom. Establish clear goals for each tutoring session. Finally, classroom discussions are another way you can apply a constructivist approach to your classroom. Class discussions can help deepen understanding of concepts, but remember to always provide students with structure to guide their discussion. In large classes, it may be useful to divide the class into smaller discussion groups. The next approach we will consider is brain-based learning.
Brain-based learning is the intersection of education and cutting-edge science. The idea is to use what we're learning from neuroscience, biology, and psychology to develop high-quality educational strategies.
An excellent resource for implementing this approach in your classroom is the book Brain-Based Learning: The New Paradigm of Teaching by Eric Jensen. The author, Eric Jensen, has written several books on the topic. His extensive teaching experience combined with thorough research in the field of neuroscience makes him one of the leading authorities on this topic. Today we will look at two concepts in brain-based learning: the impact of physical movement on the brain and the role of sight in learning. You may ask yourself, is there really a connection between physical activity and learning? Physical activity increases circulation, which delivers more oxygen and nutrients to the brain, certainly a benefit when you want to bring your A game. And aerobic exercise has a substantial impact on thinking. Increased adrenaline makes it easier to face and cope with challenges. But you may be asking yourself, how do I get students moving in my classroom? You can build movements into lessons through group projects and learning stations. These are great ways to increase student activity, plus each has additional benefits, such as socialization. However, even with these types of activities in place, there will be periods of inactivity. You can break up periods of sitting by having students do some deliberate exercises. There are a number of brain gym activities that can be done along students' desks. Even a little walking in place can boost circulation. The role of sight in learning. You may be asking yourself, why are we focusing on sight? Aren't the other senses important? Of course they are, and Jensen addresses them all, but as he points out, the overwhelming majority of information we process is done visually. We can take a look at this excerpt from the Discovery magazine article, The Vision Thing, mainly in the brain. As you can see, neurons devoted to visual processing number in the hundreds of millions and take up about 30% of the cortex, as compared with 8% for touch and just 3% for hearing. Wow, vision clearly has a profound impact on learning. So how can we make the most of our students' visual environment? Jensen suggests using concrete visual images. With limitless images available online, we have no excuse. He also points out that the brain has an instant primal response to icons and other simple images. It's no surprise that simple icons are how we and our students interact with the technology in our smartphones and tablets. Find creative ways to use images. With even limited exposure to this meme, students will easily be able to identify General Lee. Don't forget about peripheral imagery. The visuals that surround our students can impact them consciously and unconsciously. Make the most out of your classroom's visual potential. Finally, be aware of lighting in the classroom. Jensen points to several studies that show lighting can seriously impact learning. Soft, natural light is the best. Try to offer different lighting options in the classroom.